What is happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fresh Out for Better You podcast. As always, I'm your host, and I'm also joined with your co-host,
Brisbane, almost Goulet.
Almost Goulet. Time is coming. It's coming up quick. But we just want to start off the episode, as always, is thanking each and every one of you for tuning in and, continuing to show up. Which means that ultimately we're providing value, which is our ultimate goal of this podcast, to share our stories and experiences that have helped us along the journey, becoming greater versions of ourselves. And that's the ultimate goal for this podcast, is to help you become a better version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what are we talking about today, Brisbane?
Well, we got to go on a fun little adventure, a field trip, as one would call it, to Philadelphia this weekend, which is a pretty cool experience with your men's Bible study group.
Yeah, it was actually a super cool experience. You guys have heard me talk about this group many times before on this podcast, and that is my Warriors for Christ brothers. Just to give you a background, if you don't know what it is my men's group that is based around our relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We meet once a week via Zoom. We have members scattered throughout the entire country, and it's all about becoming a better leader, a better husband, and a better father. And me and my brother Wesley are actually the youngest ones in the group, sitting at 28 years old. Everyone else ranges from mid 30s to 50s, and actually our brother Chris Harsberger's almost 60s. So it's a very broad group, but the ultimate goal is to bring men closer to Christ and allow them to be more godly men, as you would call it. And ultimately, it's made a tremendous impact on my life personally.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. Like, one of the questions at our dinner that Brad asked us was like, ladies, like, what have you seen in this group, and what do you experience out of this group? Even though we are not a part of it on a week-to-week basis, we get to reap the benefits of you being in this group. But it's just a really deep connection you guys have, and that brings us gals closer together too. Just seeing you guys kind of dive deeper into your faith and be more vulnerable with each other and having a safe space to talk about those things means that us women can also do the same with each other.
Yeah, it is. It's truly incredible. These men, a lot of them are my mentors, like Brad Modrich, Josh Kosnick, Anthony Hart, and those amazing individuals who I've had the ability to grow and deepen and develop the relationship over the past few years of my life, and they've made a significant difference in my life by bringing me closer to God. And they aren't ones to beat around the bush. They're straight shooters. They'll tell you when you're messing up and make mistakes. And because we are called to sharpen one another, as Proverbs 27:17 states, that we must sharpen one another as brothers. And it's not just out of them wanting to belittle you or anything, because they just know you're better, so they're willing to call you out on those things, which has ultimately made me a better man, which kind of goes hand in hand with my first question that I'm going to be asking Brisbane is, what have you noticed before going and meeting all those guys to what difference it's made in my life?
Like just this weekend?
No, sorry, I phrased it wrong. So what did you notice? What benefits have you noticed or seen in me from this group? And then what was the deeper understanding after this weekend?
Well, I know getting into this group is not just like, they're pretty tight circled in the sense of they want whoever to come in, they want them to be there every week. They want them to show up. And like, so it's not just like, hey, if you're free, like they really want somebody who's serious and dedicated. And I know that was something that you were like trying to get in this group, and they finally were like, okay, yeah, he has enough tenacity, we'll let him in. They're not meant to be mean or like, they're not that way, but it's just they want somebody who's serious about it. I've definitely noticed that I think it broadens your horizons to be around older men and like mentors. I know you've built like really close relationships with them, but it's always really nice to like have somebody who's 10, 20, 30 years down the road from you, and just so you can talk things out. They've seen things you haven't seen yet. And just to to see how they lead as an active father of teenagers and how they, we don't even have children at the moment. So I think it really sets you up nicely to hear the stories and the trials and tribulations of those guys, you know. And after this weekend, yeah, like you guys all have a genuine friendship. It puts a good energy in the air for us girls who, some of us, we were just waiting for the first time to just be like, hey, I already accept you and I love you. So we must get along because our men get along. So, and none of them are any drama, but it was just really nice to know all of those women I have something in common with, and what I have in common with them is something that is very foundational and good.
What is that foundation then?
Oh God, of course. Thank God. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it is. It was actually incredible. Like the whole purpose of this advance and get together with the Warriors for Christ was to bring our significant others into the picture so that they got a better understanding of it and they see why it's super important for us to be a part of something like this, because it does require sacrifice. Like it is on 8 o'clock on Wednesday or on Tuesday nights, and then Bible studies at 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings. So a lot of the women in the group, they wondered why that, they were getting pulled away from their families, their time together for this group every week. And it gave a lot of the women a better understanding of why it's extremely important to these guys, just because they were able to see how we communicated, how we interacted with one another, and how much it truly meant to be with one another. And that's very same on how we feel every Tuesday night when we get together. And a lot of our calls and stuff like that, like truly there's always someone going through something. It's just whether they feel like talking about it or not. Yeah. But it's all ears when someone's going through something, one of the brothers is going through something, because us as men, we are very solution oriented, as the conversation we were talking about before this call. We're very solution oriented. And when you have a group of 30 dudes that have been through the ringer, or they are currently going through the ringer, to have that open space to talk about certain things, like it takes a lot of the stress and burden off your shoulders, because a lot of men go through a lot of really tough times. And us as men and leaders of the families and leaders of our businesses, we have so much weight on our shoulders at all time. And we oftentimes don't feel like either talking to our significant other about it, because they think like they'll think less of us or whatnot. But like, to have a place where you can talk to someone and them give you feedback, it truly means the world, because you can realize that you're not alone. Because oftentimes, like, dude, I went through this a couple years ago, like, or I was just going through that season. This is what helped me. And to have someone be able to tell you, it's going to be okay. Like, sometimes that's all it needs. And coming from, a fellow brother that's been through a similar situation, it truly means the world.
Absolutely. Well, it's just different, right? We have different people for different things in our lives. And like you and I always say, like, I can't be everything to you. I can be a whole chunk of it, but I can't be everything, or else we're doing something wrong. My question for you is, what did you learn most about yourself this weekend? I mean, we had a lot of different varying experiences, not just camaraderie, but
I learned that I can be authentically myself no matter where I am, and I should never feel like I shouldn't be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, when you go into a room with a group of individuals that are very successful and higher than you, you have to act like you're a different person or anything like that, just to try to make make get that type of validation from them. But I've realized, after meeting with you guys multiple times, like there's a lot of dudes in this room, in our group, that are extremely, extremely successful in many areas that I desire. And for me to know that I will eventually get there, and that I don't have to act like someone I'm not, I can truly be my authentic self. That is the key component in life, is just getting past that fear of like, hey, if these dudes are real and authentic as they are, like you can be just as real and authentic as you are. And I've never really had to put on any type of, facade or persona to really impress any of these dudes.
Yeah.
but just having that reassurance, knowing that I can always be myself around these people. In fact, I should always be myself no matter what. I should never have to put on any type of facade. Like, that's who I am. You either love me or hate me. I don't care because this is how God made me.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you felt. I definitely felt that myself. Of just whether that's a perfect storm of like the culmination of self work that I've done or whatever, what have you. It was a great place to practice that of like, did I feel self conscious or did I apologize for being me? You know, those things that everybody does. Um, no. In fact, I went and got up and belly danced the heck out of a
That was
belly dancing
hilarious.
skirt. It was
That was awesome.
well, I felt bad. Okay, so to rope in our listener, we went to an Arabian restaurant, which was very interesting, by the way. They serve raw beef, raw ground beef. And Naomi, my best friend, says, "Oh, that's my favorite." I'm like, "What?" Because it's just a plate of raw ground beef.
It's seasoned though. It's seasoned. It's
It
not just like you bought a pound of ground beef from Myers. Like, it's actually seasoned.
it looked like it. It looked like it. Anyways, some people were like, "This is the business right here," and I just thought it was super bland. I don't know.
It was definitely bland. I didn't. I mean, I didn't. It wasn't my cup of tea. You know, I'm not
We
complaining.
tried everything, but there were some things I'm like, eh. Anyways, we go to this Arabian restaurant. Most of it's like naan and hummus and chicken, like pretty simple stuff. But they had in the between the courses, they had a real belly dancer come out and like entertain us. And she was at one point like dancing with a whole lit tray of candles on her head. It was pretty sick.
wild.
Like that is talent. This girl was ripped too.
Dude,
Like,
her six pack was better than my fucking six pack, and that's I got a nice six pack, so that's really tough too.
Anyway, people were being so awkward. Like she'd like go up and like shake in front of people and like do her little dancey thing, and I feel like some of the men were like confused because they're like, well, I want to watch her because she's entertainment, not because she's like, not because I'm like lusting after her or anything. But I felt like some of the men also were like, wait, my wife is here and I shouldn't look at somebody wearing that. You know, I felt like the tension was a little weird because right, like some guys could be put in a little sticky spot. But this girl's coming right behind me shaking her tatas, and so I shook them right back because I was just giving her that energy. 'Cause as a fellow dancer, I'm like, get it, girl. Like, you go off with your bad self. So apparently I was the only one giving her some energy. So at the third song, she walked up to me and she goes, I have a skirt up front for you. I go, oh, is that so?
Brisbane killed it, by the way, dancing. She is magnificent. In all
Oliver
that she
put
does.
one on his shoulders, like a pashmina, like
I did.
EDM pashmina.
I did. We were all dancing, having a good time, and it was truly an incredible experience at the Arabian restaurant. And yes, there was some thoughts about the whole situation because us as godly men, to have a belly dancer who is out there, you know, shaking her stuff in front of a bunch of married dudes and engaged guys. It was a little interesting to say the least, but I know that the intentions were for us to experience a different culture, and which we did. We got to experience that culture, and it was a good opportunity for the guys to discern from the lustful thoughts to just looking at it as this is their culture. I'm not going to try having these lustful intentions. And it was an opportunity for not only for us to grow in our faith, but to look at a woman and not have any other type of lustful intentions. Yeah, that girl was shredded. Yeah, she had good moves, but dude, she's nothing compared to this woman right here. I'll tell you that right now. I didn't have one lustful intention there, and that's simply because I set the stage and I, talked out. I said, God, I don't want that. I got this. Like, I got the best thing I could ever imagine right next to me. And I know it was an opportunity to test many of the men there. And I know that they all passed. Those are our guys, and they can heavily lean on God. But ultimately, that whole experience that night was truly incredible. Great food, great vibes, great conversations, and that was just one of the little moments that really stood out, with just having all the community aspect of things, getting to experience something different. Because on one of our last get-togethers with Warriors for Christ, we had what type of food was that?
Where did we go?
It was shoot, I can't think of it right now. It was not Chinese.
Oh, Thai.
Thai. It was Thai.
Yeah.
It was absolutely delicious. So we've been able to experience multiple different things, and like that's something super cool about when these guys, the leaders of Warriors for Christ, put these events together. Like we get to go out and do really cool stuff, experience different things. But what was truly incredible about this last weekend was getting to go to a mission and serve in Allentown on Friday when we got there. We luckily had our brother and then Michaela, our brother Joe Petito and his fiancee Michaela pick us up from the airport. We went right to the mission for about 5 hours, which goes right into my question about about what we did, which was, so what was your biggest takeaway from serving at that mission?
Mm. Well, I've been on a lot of mission trips. I've been probably on close to like 10. So in that serving situation, that was very similar to a lot of the ones I've been on. I've been on a lot of urban stuff like Houston and DC and different things like that. Um, I think the biggest thing when I go into a mission trip type experience is that you just look for ways, as you would say, to ease the yoke of the people who do it all the time, to be somebody that just goes with the flow for them rather than causing more problems because they have so many problems to deal with. And like Eugene, who is running the lunch line, I mean, this man gets paid $7 an hour to deal with a whole bunch of people that are gonna give him crap, and like he has a heart of gold. And so you just, when you go into those situations, the goal is just to be easy, to make it fun, to make it light. These people that you're serving do not have a fun, light, easy life. Um, and it's not our place to make different choices for them. All we know is that we're right here in this moment, and here's what we can do in this moment. We obviously all have thoughts and opinions on what they could do to better themselves, but again, like we're not in their shoes. We don't have their decision making skills. We don't know what they know, right? Um, they might have limiting beliefs, all sorts of stuff, but all you have to do is just be there, be square, and just help out and find things to do. And sometimes they're really disorganized places. Um, as we kind of saw with some of the work they were doing, they really didn't know what to do with us at some point. Like they're like, we didn't have this much work for you guys. But there's always stuff to be done, and just showing up and showing out and like getting things done for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was truly incredible. There's one thing that I do got to point out that when we got there, they were setting us up. We were serving breakfast or lunch for all the people there, and we each got different stations. I was put at handing out sodas and sparkling waters and stuff like that. And Eugene came up. He goes, "I'm gonna tell you right now, they get one. They're gonna ask for two. They're gonna try pushing you around. They're gonna try beating you down and begging and all this other stuff. But they get one for the first time around." And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna hold my guns on this." So I was doing my job, and then Brisbane got put on giving out vegetables, and I was like, she's gonna have a really hard time with that. I will tell you that this woman right here is a magnificent salesman, because not only did she get rid of all the vegetables and made sure that everyone was getting servings of vegetables, she outsold them on the vegetables compared to the dessert table. There was desserts left over. There was not a single vegetable left over, but there was plenty of desserts left over, which goes to show she's a great salesman. I mean, it's hard to look at that face and say no.
Well, here's my trick. The people with no teeth, you say you can put a small piece of broccoli in that spaghetti and you'll never know. And they were like, I think they just didn't know what to do with that, so they let me put a piece of broccoli on their spaghetti. Then the other people who just go, I just don't like vegetables, and I go, please, please. And I said, and then they go, fine. There was a few people that were really hard sells. I don't think I got them, but for the most part, you just tug at their heartstrings a little bit. I'm like, this is really good for you, I promise. It's free. Look at all these veggies.
It's free food.
It was a beautiful vegetable platter.
Yeah. It was hard. You crushed it.
Hopefully I brought some joy. I think even like the people we were serving, they were laughing at me. So we got to like do 4 rounds of serving people of food, which is like unheard of.
Mm-hmm. God was truly multiplying the food there. Loaves and
fishes right there.
Loaves and fishes, just like the parables of Jesus.
Yeah. And And so when they kept coming up, I'm just like, once they came up for like seconds and thirds, like I knew I couldn't sell most of them, but I kind of made it into a game. I'm like, listen, we're gonna beat that dessert table, and so therefore you need to take 2 more carrots. And they'd be like, fine, throw them on. Like they were getting into it.
And they weren't throwing it away; they were eating them too.
Yeah.
So she definitely success on that aspect.
And one healthy person at a time. There's not a lick of protein on that food option, so the best I can do is vegetables.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the next question?
For you, I want to know, with the time spent with everybody, what was the most impactful conversation that you had? And you don't, even if it was like really private and you don't have to share who it was, but what was the most impactful conversation and why?
I'd have to say it was with my brother Eric Hines. I was actually at dinner at the Arabian restaurant. We were talking about business and stuff like that, and it really just reassured me because he's someone I look up to in many areas, not only just my faith, but that's someone who I constantly have learned from. He's continued to lead me down the path, but just his sense of having so much faith with what season he's in right now in his life and business and a lot of things coming to change, it just it reassured me how I'm lacking in having faith in God to always provide. And because I think that I need to control as much as I possibly can. There's certain things that I just need to give up to God and realize that I can't control, and it's truly in His hands, by submitting to Him and releasing those things. Because I've already put in the work. I've talked about this before. Is you have to put in the work and then you surrender to God. The outcome. And there's a lot of times lately, especially with the stress I've been dealing with, that I've truly struggled with surrendering that piece of God. I'm just like, no, like it needs to be this time, it needs to be this, but truly everything's in His time. If it's not in His time, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of a reassuring moment. Now that I'm articulating it again, it's just reminding me because I honestly went past that whole conversation of that, and it's a good reflecting point of really I just need to trust God that He's always going to provide, and as He always does. Yeah, it was just thank you for bringing that up because that was a conversation I kind of overlooked, and that was probably the biggest one that I had this weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's just a good reminder too. Like, no matter what you're going through, you don't have to be opening businesses or running businesses to have that mindset of like surrender. And there's a sense of calm with it, with surrender, right? Like, as a person who loves control, that's me. I really like it. It's really addicting. But it is a headache. And so, like, yeah, that doesn't mean like stress will still follow you from time to time, but I think you just have to keep with the mindset of like one foot in front of the other. You get up and you execute what you can. You can make all the lists that you want. You can do what you can, but things are always going to happen and change or adjust. And those are opportunities that God's putting in your way. There's a reason, right? Yeah, it's out of your control. There's nothing you can do, but that's you surrendering and just having faith that things are going to get pushed forward, and like you're not sitting there laying on the couch for days on end not doing anything, right? Like you're going to keep getting up and executing. But when you surrender and allow the day to just be, you now allow for opportunities for God to like talk to you, you know?
100%. I mean, that's a common thing. Is like one of my brothers in the Kaizen Brotherhood, Joey, talked about being interruptible. Us as driven people, you listening to this podcast right now, hopefully you've taken some of the advice that we've given you. You've structured your days and you have plans and you have goals and that you're working towards achieving them every day. But he said something in our Bible study about being interruptible. And if we never allow ourselves to be interruptible when things change, we're never going to be able to be obedient to Him because God doesn't make these things happen to you for no reason. Yeah. Like there's always a reason. There's no such thing as a coincidence. It's part of His plan. And if you don't have that heart posture of like, where are you calling me to, God? And even if you do have that heart posture and you're just so focused on what you got going on and someone tries to interrupt you, like, that's God trying to say something to you or call you to do something. And if you constantly push that aside, God's not going to give you what you're desiring because you're asking him for something to show you whether it's a blessing or what it is that you're asking God for. He's going to deliver it, but it's not always going to be in the way that you want it to be. And most likely it's not going to be that way. It's going to be in a different form. It's going to be a different thing that you didn't plan for, but that's God blessing you. And oftentimes we look past those things and we don't actually allow ourselves to be interrupted to actually receive those blessings because there's so many times I can think about where I've just been so focused on my life and what I got going on that I never allow myself to be interruptible for something that truly probably would either fulfilled me, solved a problem that God was calling me to, but I pushed it aside because I was so focused on what I had going on. Even though what I had going on could have been interruptible for something even greater, I didn't allow that piece to happen.
Well, I think we're all guilty of that, like, selfish bubble. You know, we always have to check ourselves, and I think that's one reason why, like, I love massage, like, why I love giving massage to my clients. That's that's the time I am not selfish. That's for sure. I am there, like, today. I listened to an hour and a half of somebody else's story nonstop, and I loved it. It was great. It was awesome. I laughed. Like, there, it's awesome to just, like, put yourself in the service of others because that person left with their cup full. They were heard for an hour and a half. They were agreed with. They were laughed, like, we were laughing together. Like, there were things, and then we solved more problems too. Like, they leave feeling this well-roundedness of full cup. And it really doesn't take much for me. Like, I've learned skills to make sure that I am not, like, taking anything home. Like, how cool that I can just, like, step out of myself for an hour and a half, give to somebody else, and make it a meaningful gift, and then go. You know, I think it's some days it's a challenge. Other days it feels really peaceful. It's really nice. Chug, chug, chug that water.
No, no chugging right now. Just quench the thirst.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what with this weekend happening, what do you want to come out of it for yourself personally, or what has came out of it personally?
I'm just really happy that the women, like, I shared when we were going around sharing about, like, hey ladies, what do you see happening here with the men? We all went around and shared our parts, but one thing that I shared that I will be happy to share is that ladies, like, finding friends that are women, most people suck. Just gonna throw it out there. I find myself befriending people who are much older than me, in part because there's just no drama anymore. Like, I don't need the passive aggressiveness. I don't want the competition. Like, my best friend lives in Arizona. Like, I like, I have local friends here that are so amazing and wonderful, but we don't see each other very often. But, like, I was able to talk to one of them on the phone today, and just, like, the amount of love her and her husband have for me, I didn't even know that existed for them, you know? I mean, I did to a certain extent, but, like, just how much out of the blue she wanted to share that love with me, of, like, how much she's proud of me, and, like, watching what can I do to support you, and, like, all this stuff. I just feel like, wow, I got such a gift. But anyways, I'm just really sorry, tangent, squirrel. Um, I'm really excited that I get to build a relationship with all these ladies, including ones that might be a little shy, but hopefully I got out of their shell a little. Hopefully a little bit. I won't share who. I'll let them remain anonymous. But one of Oliver's friends, girlfriends, is very shy. She's very shy, and that's okay. She is meeting a whole bunch of new people, like 30 new people at a time. I get it, girl. It's intimidating. So I walk up to her. I sit down and I put a camera right in front of our faces, and I said, "I'm going to interview with the tampon right now, okay?" And she goes, "What?" And I go, "Okay, and go." And she did it. And um her boyfriend came over and he's like, "How's it going over here?" I'm like, "Oh, well, she did my social media." And he goes, "No, she didn't." I go, "She did." And he goes, "What the?" So that's a good icebreaker. Just walk up and say, "I'm going to interview with a tampon." That'll work. Apparently.
That's
I don't know.
hilarious.
Worked for her.
Yeah, it was something that I was really hoping was going to happen after getting to meet her for the first time. She's definitely very shy, definitely not a
Girl's a whiz. Holy
yeah,
smokes.
she's super smart. Super smart.
I just wanted to sit
Very
there and
very
sift
smart.
through her brain files. I was like, this is fascinating.
She's very introverted was the word I was looking for, and being an introvert and then surrounded by basically 30 extroverts.
Oh yeah.
That is that's very tough. But ultimately, like I know that helped her grow out of her comfort zone, and I hope that it reinstilled or gave her a realization why this group is super important for our brother to make sure that he is consistently on the calls and with the things because of how much this value this group truly does have. And it was just super awesome to see that, to get to meet her. She's absolutely lovely, and I know that she's going to be there and support one of my best friends to the best of her ability. And it gives me a reassurance and fulfillment knowing that one of my great amazing men has found someone.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's just really interesting. None of you guys had suspected a personality type like that for him. But what I think is really interesting is that after getting to know her, I think her like intellect is what is so attractive. Like as a female friend to a female friend, like I'm like, girl, like I could sit with you all day. This is amazing. And like I went to an internship fair today with my manager, and one thing I noticed about myself is how extroverted I sure am. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, and everybody made that very well known. And they were pointing that out of like, Brisbane, shut up. You're gonna scare them. You're gonna scare them away. You're like one of those Pomeranians that won't shut up. But it just made me realize like how contrasting personality types can really get along or not get along. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. Peace. Love you.
I love you.
Yeah. I don't have any more questions for you.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess the question is like, with this overarching, this experience, this field trip we took, this it was not even, it's vacation but not vacation because it's different.
Field trip.
Field trip, yes.
Magic school bus.
The magic school bus. With this experience this weekend, what would you say to the audience that is a reason to get involved with some type of group like this or something similar community?
I think honestly you can start local. You don't have to go cross states to do something like this, like to meet people who you might have something in common with. Kids Food Basket, Habitat for Humanity. You know, there are so many local things that are all over the place that people can be a part of. And the one good reason to be a part of it is that everybody there is going to care about that thing too. So then, right from there, now you have a group of people that can agree on one thing. And then from there, I think you can build really cool relationships and meaningful relationships, especially if your group is rooted in God or Bible study, service work. I mean, you know, all of my old coworkers from all these different places I've worked, we always use the term trauma bonded because you have these shared experiences of horrible things or funny things or like what the heck things. And you start to become like when you have those shared experiences, that's when a bond will form. And so I think just get involved, even if it's not an online group, with Bible study or a service group or something local would be probably the best route for you to go, especially the hard thing with online groups is, yeah, you feel connected, but you don't really truly feel that connection nearly as much until you get to meet in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's something that we've actually had conversations with over the last week or so after meeting with my pastor, because I was telling him about the Kaizen Brotherhood, all the pillars, and he straight up asked me, he goes, "Well, which one do you struggle with the most?" And I was like, "That's tough. Pretty dialed into my fitness. My mentality is pretty sharp. My faith is stronger than it's ever been. Finances, it's reinvesting season, and then the relationship side. I have amazing relationships, but most of them are online, all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of my friends aren't here. Like my best friend lives in Oregon, and my other best friend, luckily, thank God, he just moved to Spring Lake, Easton. But
Woo,
most of
Easton.
Woo, Easton, go Easton.
We love Easton.
We truly
Thank you,
love.
Easton.
Yes, thank you for everything,
Big
brother.
shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to Ethan. You are the freaking man, bro. I can't express my gratitude enough for you right now, brother. But you have helped me in so many ways, dude.
Yeah.
You are. I would say the other version of poop, but because I have some other people that tell me I need to stop swearing, which not only God, but other people saying that I shouldn't swear on this podcast because we're a Christian podcast, you're the man. Simple as that. You are the freaking man, Easton, and I'm blessed to call you my brother. But going back, side tangent, all of my people are basically spread out throughout the United States. And it's very hard when, Brisbane and I literally spend time with my partners and employee at work. I spend time with Brisbane, and I spend time with Easton, and that's literally it. And so when I was having this conversation with my pastor, he was like, you need a local group then, like something you can get involved in locally. And I was like, you're right. And luckily, my pastor, he's a freaking awesome man, and he put me in touch with some locals that he knew that aligned with what Brisbane and I do. That we can actually relate on other levels because other than our foundation being on God and Jesus Christ. Um, because yes, when you get involved with these groups, like Brisbane was saying, you have that one common thing. But like for me to truly want to spend time with others, like we have to have more than just that foundation. Like you may be a believer and follower of Christ, but if you don't take care of your physical health, your relationships are trash. You aren't actually living out the word that God intended. Like I don't have time for you in my life. I truly don't. Like to delegate to building a relationship because if we only have that one thing in common, then like that's all we'll ever be able to talk about. And I can talk about God for hours, but at the same time, I like to incorporate God into every aspect of my life. And if they aren't doing similar things to me, it's very hard. So getting aligned with the group, yes, you may get that entry level, like you have this common thing, but eventually you're just going to start finding others that you have more commonalities with and more similar interests and stuff like that. And that's how you really develop those truly deep relationships. It's just not one thing. It's like a list of them. Going back to my brother Easton, like all of our values same. We are founded in faith, we're disciplined, we're on top of our fitness, we're about our business. All of these things stack up, perfect fit. Same thing with my brother Parker. Same thing with Dylan. Same thing with Brian. Same thing with all of my men in Kaizen, which is why that group is so incredible to me. Is because I not only have one thing in common with them, I have five. Five consistent things that we all have in common that are values, things that we push towards in life. And that's truly incredible to me. But now it's like, how can I be involved with something similar like that in our local community that I can spend more in person time with instead of just being behind a screen?
But that doesn't mean too, like, starting out with just that one thing in common. Maybe they're not your best friend, okay? But always approach the situation that, like, you can inspire that person. Like one of my friends was helping me paint, and she's not a very active person by any means, but she realized after that day of spending with me, there's not a ton that we share in common in terms of like working out and nutrition and all those things. But since that day, and she was like sore from getting up and down on the ladder. And then all of a sudden she's like, Kristen, I want you to know I've been stretching every day. I've been doing something, right? So you can be an inspiration without even telling them.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll be your best friend, maybe they won't. But always just make sure you approach that situation of not like oh, sorry, we only have God in common.
Yeah. No, that was
the way you came across that. I just wanted to make sure that was like received by our listener. That's not how you approach life. I know that's not how you approach life, but
Yes, yes. That was my heart posture was not in the right place. Being able to articulate my words there. Even if you have that one little thing in common, and you may be further down the path in some area of your life, that's an opportunity for you to lead them and help guide
Yeah.
them. And it doesn't mean that like you can't spend time with those types of people, because it is great to have those types of people in your life. It's just I was looking at it from the aspect of developing like the deepest relationships possible.
But that's a quality thing, not a quantity thing.
Yes.
That's gonna be a total God moment when you find somebody that you're like, dang, we have more in common than we thought, right? And so those people are gonna come few and far between. But that doesn't mean you can't fill your support system too with those other people with just one or two things in common.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. We haven't done this in a while to end our podcast. What are you reading, Oliver?
Oof.
To switch gears.
I am reading. I literally just started last night, but I'm also reading a book on real estate. I can't remember the actual title of it because I don't know why, but it's a book on real estate, just learning the intricacies and the ins and outs of all real estate deals, taxes, liabilities, long term, short term rentals, all that stuff, because that's an area I do plan on going into with Brisbane down the road is real estate. And I definitely enjoy properties, beautiful properties. I enjoy building stuff. I enjoy real estate. I really, really do. And that's something I want to learn more about, and seeing how I can minimize my tax liabilities over the future, so I pay the government less money, because the government's going to send it overseas and I'm not okay with that. And I'd rather put it in my own pocket or other people that I love, like family, friends, and other people's businesses I want to support.
It's really fun to watch him read this book because the whole time he's doing math problems.
Yeah, it's actually super interactive because it has a lot of calculations, and I'm a math guy, and I absolutely love it. So I love when at the end of each chapter, there's calculations, equations, stuff like that that you have to solve to get a number, and then you can cross-reference the back of the book to make sure your math is right. And 1 plus 1 actually does equal 2 in math. But I want Brisbane to share her story about what she saw on a reel that really made sense.
I really liked it. 1 plus 1 equals 11. Because 1 plus 1 does not equal 2, because that means we both changed shape to come together and we changed our identity. But 1 plus 1, we both are the same identity. We're just a greater number together, and like individual people, but together. If that makes sense.
So we are 11. We are not 2, and 11 is greater than 2.
It is. It is. 11 is greater than 2, and we didn't have to change who we are.
100%.
Be together.
Yeah. What are you reading?
The book I'm reading is called Forever Strong by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. Awesome read. Thank you, Destiny. She sent it to me. And she also sent me The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I've not started that one yet, but I'm on my way.
Is that a movie or?
I think so.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Never heard it in terminology of someone reading the book.
I'm going to read the book, and then if it is a movie, we can watch the movie together. I'll give you the Sparks Notes version.
I feel like I've heard quite a bit about that. Now that you're saying, I do not. It's about some girl with a dragon tattoo, that's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure.
Girl with the dragon tattoo.
But I feel like someone has talked to me about that movie or book before. Yeah. Definitely a movie.
I'll bring it this weekend because I'm on the path to 52 books this year, and I will get there. I'm also reading The Testaments, which is the second book to The Handmaid's Tale. It's another book I'm reading right now. So I'm double fisting it. And the Bible. Read the Bible every day.
Obviously. What book are we in right now?
Isaiah. We're in Isaiah. Fun fact about hold on, let me just change your brain about the Bible. Hold on for a second. Read the Bible like a history book, please. Because that's what it is. It's literally all what it is. If you read it like a history book, some of these verses that you're like randomly pulling out for these, we all know the people who just flip to a random page and be like, this is what God needs me to hear. Well, he might, if you do that, you're going to maybe put your finger on a place where like people are at war, or there's a trade route problem. Okay, like maybe that's not what God wants you to hear. So you have to understand, like, the whole book is a history book. There is context. There's context in each individual person who wrote their book, right? What they were going through, their whole perspective. Remember, we're really selfish as people. So these people are going to be like, yeah, this was my perspective, and actually I am awesome. And so is Jesus, but me, I'm pretty cool too. So you have to understand context. And that has been really helpful as we dive into Isaiah, because Isaiah is just a whole bunch of war, really. It's like, oh, Babylon fell again. Okay.
It's war and Israel making a bunch of mistakes, and God's still like, hey, I'm going to help you. Come this way. Just constantly repeating.
Yeah. It's just like, it's the same story a bunch of times with different little, like, poetic anecdotes. Yeah. But it's not a boring book. I've never looked at the Bible like that. So I hope that helps somebody who maybe wants to read the Bible.
So I got a question to all of my fellow believers and followers of Jesus Christ out there about obedience. Because in the book of Isaiah, God calls Isaiah to walk the lands for 3 years naked, well, in boxers. But would you, if God called you to do that, would you do it? If you knew that it truly came from God, would you be obedient to his word? And that's something that we can look at from the perspective like, if they're willing to be obedient to God and they were delivered, the amazing things that he was able to have in his lifetime by being obedient to God, like true obedience means without a question, God calls you to be somewhere, do something, and you do it. And that's the type of obedience I strive to have, is the type of obedience that Isaiah had when God called him to wander the earth for 3 years naked.
Also, that wasn't like a whole chapter. It was a sentence of Isaiah walked around naked for 3 years. And then next paragraph. And Assyria.
After 3 years and not war.
And like Assyria, 3 years later, Isaiah was blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wait, back up. What was that? What was that? Because apparently 3 years has gone by between this paragraph and that paragraph. And Isaiah was just chilling with a terrible sunburn.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for you today.
That's all we got for you guys today. Yeah. Remember, if you guys have any questions, concerns, or topics that you want us to discuss, please feel free to reach out. We are here to serve you guys. We want to provide value in whatever way we possibly can. So if there's anything you're struggling with, you want more information on, or you simply just want to hear our perspective on, please feel free to reach out. And the only thing that we ask of you guys is you take the lessons that we learned, the value that we provide, and you apply them to your life. At least try, because what works for us isn't necessarily always going to work for you. But I can tell you, I'm not going to give you any type of advice or tell you about something that I know didn't work for myself. I'm not going to, preach to you something that I'm not willing to do myself. So everything that Brisbane and I say to you comes truly from our hearts and experiences that we've went through and the lessons that we have learned to try helping you avoid the same mistakes that we have made. Yeah.
And we don't know everything. But we will try. We will do our research for you. Anytime. I'm not afraid.
Do not be afraid is said in the Bible 365 times. Another fact. But with that being said, guys, if we gave you any sort of value, change your perspective, or anything of that nature, we ask that you share the show, because that's how we continuously grow. That's how we continuously impact more people's lives. And that is our ultimate goal with this show, is to impact more people's lives to become the best version of yourself. And with that being said, always remember, there's a fresh hope for a better you.